2025. I am Councillor Jeff Jones and I will be chairing today's meeting. Just to make you all aware, this meeting will be recorded. Can I welcome any members of the public and press to today's meeting? Can I kindly ask you to observe the meeting only and not speak or participate unless you have registered to do so? Please ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. I wish to remind members signing in remotely of their legal obligation to have their cameras switched on during the meeting, please, in order to be seen and heard while participating in council business. If you wish to speak or ask a question, please raise your electronic hand on Teams or physical hand if in person. Should you wish to ask any questions of any of the attendees here today, please ensure these come through me as the chair. I will now move on to agenda item 1, Chair's announcements. I can confirm I have no announcements to make. Agenda item 2 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest?
I see no hands raised, Chair.
Thank you, Tammy. Agenda item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. The minutes from the meeting held on the 28th of January 2025 are attached on pages 5 to 8 of the agenda pack for approval. Members, do you have any comments to make on the accuracy of these minutes? Please, can I have a proposer and seconder to approve the minutes?
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you. Any abstentions? No. If you do not raise your hand to the contrary, I will assume you are in favour of approving the minutes.
No hands raised to the contrary, Chair, so those minutes have been approved.
Thank you, Tammy. Agenda item 4 is request for site visits. Are there any members who wish to suggest a site visit on the application presented today or for any other matter? No. Please let me know if you wish to call for a site visit at any point in the meeting. So you find it, yeah? There we go. Now we move on to matters for decision. Application number P2024/0711 from Tata Steel Electric Arc Furnace at Talbot Steelworks. The report is set out on pages 9 to 148 of your agenda pack, and this application is recommended for approval. Can I now call on Councillor Wyndham Richards, LDP member, would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Chair. It's Griffiths.
Oh. Yes, sorry.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to speak this morning. The application before Planning Committee today, if approved, is a significant investment into the Port Talbot area, one that will retain steelmaking within the town and hopefully be a catalyst for further investment. Officers of this authority have worked on this project for over 12 months to get to this point, and the report clearly shows that the impacts of this project, positive and negative, have been appropriately considered in coming to the recommendation today. I would therefore thank officers for their efforts and offer my support for the project, and will respectfully ask members of Planning Committee to also support the recommendation before them today. Thank you, Chair.
My apologies. Thank you, Councillor Griffiths.
Lost to a pint.
I would now like the planning officer to take us through the application. Chris?
Just having a few technical issues a minute, Chair. Bear with. Thank you.
This is planning application P 2024-711 for a proposal for full planning permission for the demolition of existing buildings and structures, partial infill of the Boss Lagoon, construction of a new electric arc furnace-based steel production facility. The development includes chemical and material storage, transfer infrastructure, pipework and cabling, above and below ground, buildings, fume and dust treatment plant, water treatment facility, material handling systems, electrical control rooms, power infrastructure, offices and ancillary facilities, together with new and amended road and rail lines, landscaping and green infrastructure, lighting, hard standing, CCTV, drainage and associated engineering operations, and also outline planning permission with all matters reserved except for access and landscaping for the construction of a scrap metal handling facility and associated scrapyards, scrap processing facility, new substation, underground and overground electrical infrastructure, and new and amended roads and rail lines, landscaping, green infrastructure, lighting, hard standing, CCTV, drainage and associated engineering operations at Talbot Steelworks, Grange Road, Margam. The applicant is Tata Steel. The application site extends to 159.6 hectares. Its boundary you can see here on the plan in front of you is irregular in shape and includes the following parts of the existing steelworks: a continuous casting plant, slab yards, part of a basic oxygen steel making boss plant to the northern part of the site, an operational lagoon you'll see there by the indication in the centre of the plan, steel service centre, Margam Colliery Memorial in the centre of the site, a haul road which forms the westernmost boundary, coal yards the southwestern area of the site, and areas of grass meadow to the south. Where you see the indication 1 on the plan there is the area where the electric arc furnace will be constructed. On this plan, it identifies the areas of Talbot, the heavy end there with the former blast furnace and sinter plant. You can see the APP jetty, Swansea Bay, and then we've got indications there for the main railway line, the PDR, and the M4 there to the east, sorry. So number 1, so this is the basic oxygen steel plant, the Boss plant. Just for context, that building is approximately 430 meters long and 60 meters high. You'll see this plant on a number of the images there below, and this is the plant that the electric arc furnace will be constructed predominantly around. Areas 2 and 3. So area 2 is a close-up view of the Boss plant from the west, and photo 3 there you'll see a view across the operational lagoon. 4 and 5. 4 shows the elevated pipelines across the site, and 5 shows the existing scrapyard area. 6 and 8. These show you the views between the existing rolling mills, which are quite large structures within the wider landscape of the steelworks. And 8 shows the blast furnaces there to the north of the site. 7. This shows the view of the green fields down to the south of the site, and we'll move on further in the report to outline the ecological enhancements that are part of this application. This is views from Longlands Lane to the southern boundary of the site, and you can see the site there in the distance. And again, some further images of the site from outside, looking into the site from various directions. So you've got the boss plant, the haul road, the operational lagoon, existing and open storage, including scrap handling, existing coal stockyards, and the Southern Grazing Fields Lagoon. So this slide here just gives you an operation of how the site will operate once operational, should this development go forward. And just to go through the process there. So stage 1, transportation of materials into the site will be primarily through rail. Raw materials then are stored and processed. Processing of iron-bearing raw materials, scrap, pig iron, and hot briquetted iron. Primary steel-making process then, the materials are melted and refined in the electric arc furnace, which produces liquid steel. And then secondary steel making, the liquid steel then from the EAF is further processed in ladle furnaces. As you see, these the blue building here is the boss plant that we referred to earlier. Stage 5, casting and processing. Slab casters process the liquid steel further, causing it to solidify. And then stage 6 is the hot and cold rolling mills. So the solid steel in the hot and cold rolling mills then is processed. Stage 7, again transported out of the site primarily by rail. This plan here gives you an indication of the areas that are covered by the full and outline planning application. So the green hatched area there is the full, and the remainder of the site within red is part of the outline planning application. This is the figure 6 shown on page 15 of the report. And as set out and defined on page 15 and provided with their own defined areas and planning conditions as set out on pages 117 to 146.7 of the report. The main components of the proposed development summarised as follows. The full planning application consists of alterations to the boss plant, secondary refining building, collectively comprising the EAF, water cooling systems and water treatment plant, fume and dust extraction systems with stacks, offices and ancillary facilities, the partial infill of the Boss Lagoon, new and amended rail tracks and infrastructure, new and amended roads, gates and parking areas, landscaping and green infrastructure, with the outline area there outlined in red, but outside of the green would be the scrap metal reception, handling and processing facilities and associated scrap yards, new substations and overground electrical infrastructure, amended access roads and parking, and amended rail track and associated infrastructure. Full details of this are set out within the report, and these areas defined on pages 14 to 19 of the report. So this proposal is the largest of an initial element of the overall investment of £1.25 billion within the Talbot Steelworks. This plan gives you an indication of the structures to be demolished as part of the proposal to make way for the proposed development. And these are some of the structures and buildings that will be taken away to facilitate it. Again, further structures that will be demolished. So the main EIA development itself. So as you can see, this is predominantly located around the operational lagoon. The brown area there is the infill for the lagoon. So these are the main components of the EAF itself. Charger Bay South extension. This is an extension to the side of the existing boss plant. A canopy hood that will be attached to the roof of the boss plant itself. The Consteel conveyor building. And if you're trying to get a sense of scale of it, you can see the trucks on the bottom corner of the plan there on the bottom corner underneath the conveyor. And this will convey the scrap steel into the electric arc furnace itself. Fume treatment building and stack. Active carbon injection silos. Ferroalloy bunker. And the hot briquette iron dollar line bunker, and powder silos. So these are the main components and how they sit alongside the EAF and the lagoon. So molten metal will be tapped from the EAF at a production rate of 320 tonnes of steel every 42 minutes, creating an annual production capacity of approximately 3.2 million tonnes per annum. The fume extraction plant includes active carbon injection and dust bag filters, which will be subject to environmental permit, requiring the use of the best available technologies issued by NRW. The EAF input and output are summarised on Table 1 on pages 23 to 27 of the report, and the ES provides the following as an indicative programme of works, with commencement of construction mid-2025, construction complete late 2027, commissioning mid to late 27, and operational first melt early 2028. The proposal also includes an office building which is constructed to the east of the Boss plant to house operators for the EAF facility. There will also be a new car parking facility to allow workers to travel to and from the site, which includes EV charging. And there's what is termed the green walkway, which will take workers to and from the EAF itself. So you can see indicated on this image the office building and car park there, the green walkway, and then you can see the extractor hood and the fume plant. So that's looking from the opposite direction than the previous photo that we showed. So other main structures and buildings within the area of the full application, and pardon my slide, but there's quite a lot of these and they're quite technical, so I'm not sure if anyone's that interested in them, but we'll put them up anyway. Fire water pump house, primary pump house, secondary pump house, melt shop power distribution, melt shop WTP electrical, melt shop FEP electrical, compressor house, emergency tank, lagoon water pump house, the main power centre, power compensation building, HBI electrical building, so in terms of the illustrative outline plan, so that's the area that's outside of the hatch screen. This will cover the scrap storage and potential scrap processing, open storage including silos, plus an acoustic barrier to address any noise. Rail infrastructure works, electricity substation and associated works. The proposal also includes landscape and ecological mitigation enhancements, and details that will be shown later in the presentation. So this gives you an indication from the other end of the site, looking back towards Talbot. So these areas here are predominantly in the outline application. You can see the fume treatment plant in the distance and the Consteel building. You can see where the acoustic barrier is shown around the area for the rail and the scrap loading. You've got material storage, and then you've got the indication of the parameters of development for the National Grid compound. Consultations are set out and responses are set out on pages 40 and 44 of the report, and planning policies at national and local level are set out on pages 44 to 49. Again, these show the acoustic barrier and the areas of outline of the application, and in the distance the Consteel building and fume treatment plant. As required by the EIA regulations, the applicant has considered alternatives as part of the application, the EIA submission. As part of this, they have to consider the do-nothing scenario. The applicant has indicated publicly that the losses currently sustained are not sustainable to continue with. And therefore, an alternative business model and significant new investment is required to support the continuation of the UK business. They have set out that generating significant new investment in maintaining the status quo with a facility would emit approximately 20% and 2% respectively of Welsh and UK national emissions in 2022 would be very challenging in a net zero-led policy environment, and where public and consumer pressure is increasingly focused on clean and sustainable products. The applicant has already closed the heavy end, made up primarily of the 2 blast furnaces and sinter plant and the coke ovens and associated infrastructure of the wider steelworks in September 2024. The main issues that have been considered as part of this application relate to the principle of development, the impact upon landscape and visual amenity, the impacts upon heritage and archaeological assets, the impact upon residential amenity, noise and vibration, the impact on air quality, light pollution, parking and access arrangements, and the impact upon highway and pedestrian safety, together with impacts upon the socioeconomics, hydrology, drainage, flood risk, impact on biodiversity, health and safety, and risk to human health, and the impact upon waste management. The main issues considered as part of this assessment are set out on page 50 of the report. In terms of landscape and visual, these are the this is a ZTV and viewpoint plan taken from the application. Landscape and visual assessment is set out on pages 54 to 60, with significant impacts limited to the construction phase only to Longlands Lane. And here's a view taken from the LVIA assessment, which shows you in the distance off Longlands Lane. These areas here indicated green, which are the outline areas showing the parameters of development within that zone. There are other residual impacts post-development. These are considered to be acceptable within the site context, the existing steelworks, and accord with the development plan. Again, there's another view of the site, and you can see the areas showing the outline application in green there. And you can see it in the context of the wider landscape and the context of the other buildings and development within the steelworks itself. Residential amenity is considered on pages 61 and 62, and no adverse impacts have been identified from overlooking, overbearing, or overshadowing. Matters of disturbance via noise, lighting, air quality have also been considered within the various separate sections of the report, and subject to conditions considered to be acceptable. Noting also that there's a human health section that's considered on pages 95 to 96. This plan gives you an indication of the existing habitats, ecological habitats on site at the moment. And these following plans show the proposed ecological mitigation enhancements that are proposed around the operational lagoon itself as part of the EAF proposals. The application is supported by a Landscape and Ecology Management Plan, or LEMP, and the Biodiversity Management Plan. And as detailed within these landscaping plans, these full details are controlled by conditions and also by the Section 106 agreement, which will set out for securing delivery and management over 30 years. The landscape design proposals are primarily ecology and hydrology led, focusing on measures to restore and enhance retained areas of brownfield and greenfield habitats within the coastal plain. These areas of the greenfields to the south here show the mitigation proposals as set out in the application. We've also got proposed artificial sites for barn owls and bats also proposed. Site access arrangements remain the same. There's a significant reduction in road transport to and from the site, with the main focus being on rail. You will note there's also a condition on the application requiring active travel improvements, which are to be imposed as a Grampian condition as part of the proposal being put forward here. In addition, in relation to SARBs, whilst it will require a separate consent, the applicant has provided indicative drainage strategy, which includes a clean and polluted separated systems and also include ecological features and enhancements. There are a number of heritage assets within the site as a whole, and these are afforded protection now and during the works. Heneb, who changed their name from recently to Heneb from Glamorgan Gwent Archaeological Trust, have also requested a condition regarding a written scheme of investigation as part of the proposals, and that's been imposed as a condition of any permission that would be issued. In terms of noise, this plan shows you the site boundary and identifies some of the receptors in relation to noise and vibration that have been assessed. So you've got residential sensitive receptors, designated areas, and also ecological receptors. In terms of noise, the authority appointed an expert consultant to look at the application and consider the details submitted, and they recommended the conditions that have been imposed on the application, which clarify that there are no fundamental issues in relation to noise. There's embedded mitigation within the Boss plant itself, and the screening that I mentioned earlier to the outline application would address will provide mitigation as part of that scrap area as well. So those conditions, again, in relation to noise and vibration, are all set out within the report. Air quality. Too far. The air quality impacts are set out on pages 70 to 73. It should be noted there are also a number of conditions relating to construction as well, which cover a lot of these issues. And there's also a climate change and sustainability section, which is on pages 96 to 100, that outlines significant reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. Members should be aware that obviously this site will require an environmental permit, and control over points of emissions and limits would be set through the environmental permit using best available techniques, or BAT, with NRW. These are just some of the highlights from the submission, which shows the approximate reduction in emissions based to that previously with the heavy end operating. As you can see, these are quite large, significant reductions, and also in terms of the greenhouse gas emissions, you can see there's significant reductions of greenhouse gas emissions from the proposal also. During construction, construction is also dealt with in the ES and was also regulated with approximately 20 conditions proposed as part of that. These cover demolition, construction management, air quality, noise, vibration, coal mining legacy, materials management to both protect amenity and the environment. Land contamination is also addressed. Desktop assessments will be provided and a suite of condition imposed to provide further information, including remediation and monitoring. And there's also conditions regarding soils and peat protection and mitigation measures. The summary of effects set out within the ES are set out on the table on pages 105 to 115 of the report. The proposal forms part of a 1.25 billion investment in the Talbot facility, supported by the UK and Welsh Government. The applicant has reasonably demonstrated that the future of the Talbot facility is entirely dependent on the planned investment in the EAF. It is also clear that this could lead to potential further investment in the site to protect its long-term future and diversification. All identified effects of the development should be considered in this context. In determining this application, weight must be given to the various material considerations outlined within the report and determination of where the planning balance lies between the positive and negative effects of the development. It is considered that the proposal represents an appropriate form of development where the adverse impacts of the development identified are outweighed by the benefits of the development in terms of the retention and transition to electricity-based steelmaking, and in terms of greenhouse gas emissions and zero carbon aspirations. Our recommendation here today is to approve this application subject to the conditions set out before you and the signing of legal agreements under Section 106 of the Town and Country Planning Act, to secure both biodiversity enhancement over a 30-year period and a steering group for that management, and additionally a UU that covers the heavy end area of the site to ensure that the assessments that we've made as part of this application are robust and are acceptable. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chris, for that extensive report. Two local ward members, Councillors Rob Jones, Dennis Keogh and Laura Williams, have anything they would like to say? Councillor Rob Jones.
Thank you, Chair, and thanking you for allowing me to come to planning today. I'm not normally sit on planning, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I don't think there's anyone, any family in Neath but Talbot that is not affected by the steel plant and those living outside the wider community. And we all know why we're here today and the reasons that have led to the planning application. But it is vital, and I cannot stress that enough, it is vital that we retain steelmaking in Port Talbot, not just for the benefit of our local community, but for the UK as a whole. Particularly on the international stage, where you've got President Trump introducing tariffs on steelmaking. And it's nice to hear the UK government actually supporting the steel industry with a variety of ways to ensure that it doesn't have the impact that Trump is trying to impose on the world, as it seems. I think the movement of the electric arc furnace to the area that it's going to do will certainly benefit the community. It is moving it away from the traditional two blast furnaces, as Mr. Davis outlined, have closed. And in that closure, I will say that complaints in relation to the operation of Tata has drastically reduced through noise and the various forms of pollution. And it's good to see within the report that has been highlighted to the committee today further reductions ecologically and climate change, net zero, will also benefit from the development of the electric arc furnace. We do know it's come at a cost, but it's the future. And unless we embrace the future and move forward, we will stand still. And that, in all honesty, is not a position that this town and this community can afford to do. £1.25 billion investment in this area is probably the largest investment we have had in decades, and it is not something that we can ill afford to lose. I have to commend the officers that have worked on this, in particular Matthew Griffiths, who's in the chamber today. I know it's been over a year that they've been working on this to get it to the stage where it's presented to committee today. Port Talbot is known universally as Steel Town, and it's vitally important that we keep steelmaking in Port Talbot. We want that badge of Steel Town, even though it's come at a cost over recent months and years. Tata is very active in the community. We've heard of 106 benefits outlined by Mr. Davis, but they go beyond and above their involvement in the community. I could rattle off things like the Richard Burton Run, the Round the Pier Swim, the community rugby engagement, and a variety of other things that they do that not many people realise. Tata are so engaged with the community and support the community in a variety of ways. To lose that, if steelmaking isn't retained in this community, would be totally catastrophic and detrimental to all families, all online chain supplies, all those that keep Tata moving forward. As I've said, I'm a non-voting member of this community, but I would ask that those that are sitting on the committee support this application for the benefit of Port Talbot, Neath, Port Talbot County Borough, Wales and the UK. Please keep steelmaking in Port Talbot, and I'm proud to say in the ward that I represent. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Keogh?
You've stolen my thunder. I very largely agree with what Rob has said, and those words I would have used myself. Someone who has been involved in the steel industry since the age of 16 until I retired in 2013, both as a contractor and as an employee. I have witnessed technology coming to Port Talbot. Port Talbot has always been a leader in technology as far as steel making is concerned, and others have played catch up. But unfortunately, world economics catches up with us. The cost of making virgin steel is no longer bearable. At the time, there was great anger, a form of grief, if you like, when we knew we were going to lose the heavy end. As someone who started as an apprentice on number 1 blast furnace back in 1967. But now we see, and we look at the news today, where other steel companies are having to look to themselves and how they can continue their operations. The announcement this week of ArcelorMittal shutting down its South Africa operations. Absolutely devastating move to them. But as soon as this was, what happened, I think, is that we were in a state of shock and people no longer believed anything Tata had to say. When they said, well, we're going to invest in an electric arc furnace, but what happened, people were saying, it will never happen. They'll close the place down. It will never happen. But it has happened. It's before us today. And I'd like to thank officers for the amount of work and the man hours that have gone into this over the 12 months. And I'd like to thank Tata for keeping faith with us and this investment coming forward. I was going to say something else, but I've forgotten what it was. It's age, I'm afraid. But when the time comes, I will propose movement of this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keogh. And finally, Councillor Laura Williams.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to be in agreement with my ward councillors and just to say how proud I am to support, to have Tata in our ward. So just want to reiterate the thank you to the officers and Tata as well. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all. Next, can I please call Rajesh Nair, Chief Executive of Tata Steel UK, to speak in support of the application. You have 5 minutes to address the committee, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm Rajesh Nair, Chief Executive Officer of Tata Steel UK, and I'm speaking in support of our planning application to deliver green steel making here in Port Talbot. Before I begin, I'd like to put on record my thanks to the wide range of partners who we have worked closely with on this. This includes our employees and the community, Neath Port Talbot Council, the Welsh and UK governments, and all the bodies who have worked with us. The hybrid planning application before you today seeks your permission so we can get started on building a new 3.2 million ton capacity electric arc furnace and 2 new ladle metallurgy furnaces, which would help us make the more complex grades of steel required by our customers. This state-of-the-art steelmaking equipment would have a similar capacity to our old iron and steel making assets, and they would be built within the existing steel plant and surrounding external areas. This £1.25 billion investment would be the most significant investment made in the UK steel industry in decades. It would secure high-quality steel production, preserve thousands of jobs, and safeguard steelmaking in Port Talbot for generations to come. Additionally, the move towards green steelmaking would have significant environmental benefits. This includes a reduction in direct on-site CO2 emissions up to 90%, equivalent to 5 million tons of CO2 emissions a year. We're also expecting a 90% reduction in the levels of stack emissions. By recycling scrap steel, of which there's an abundance in the UK, rather than using imported iron ore and polluting coal, we will become a leader in the circular economy. We'll be recycling the country's valuable scrap resource instead of shipping it to other countries. And we'll be working in tandem with the national grid as they continue to decarbonize the electricity network with new wind farms and other low-carbon energy sources. We're also working in partnership with our customer base, which is increasingly looking for low CO2 steel. And we've already signed an agreement with JCB to supply them with steel produced by Port Talbot's new electric arc furnace when it's up and running. This transition is critical to Tata Steel UK, to becoming a financially, operationally, and environmentally sustainable business. Having considered all the possible options, we are confident the electric arc furnace is the best choice for us and for Port Talbot. Other European steel makers are also moving towards this form of steel making. To deliver the project in accordance with the timeline and meet our commitments to our customers, the local community, and the governments, we have already agreed orders worth hundreds of millions of pounds, recognizing there is a long lead time on many of these items. We are partnering with the best in the business to deliver a new steelworks. To this end, we have agreed that Tenova, a world-class leading metals technology manufacturer, will supply the new furnace, and we have appointed Sir Robert McAlpine as the main works contractor. Getting your support today would be a significant milestone for the project. It would allow us to get going with demolition of existing structures and the construction of the steelworks, and we are planning to begin large-scale on-site work this summer. We can't wait to get going, and if approval is granted today, we can maintain our collective ambition to start operating the electric arc furnace from the end of 2027, less than 3 years from now. This project will allow Port Talbot to remain a center of steel making, continuing a tradition that goes back over 100 years. To conclude, we are incredibly keen to get going on this. Our business is making steel. It's what we do, and we want to continue to do it here. Personally, I'm both completely committed to and excited about the opportunity to deliver such a significant investment in steel in Wales, creating a sustainable future for steel making here in Port Talbot. I hope you will be able to support this once-in-a-generation investment so we can continue to work with you as we deliver ambitions for green, sustainable steel making. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will now take questions from the members of the committee. Members, do you have any questions to ask the officers? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to ask this question on behalf of people who may not have had access to the planning application and the full details of it. A lot of people are thinking, well, is there enough scrap in the country to sort of keep things like this going? Now, I just would like to ask that question on behalf of people who may not have seen the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Chris?
I think as set out in the report, the UK currently exports, thousands of tons of scrap steel abroad. This proposal will ensure that that doesn't happen anymore. As you see from the outline area of the site, there's various options in terms of either scrap storage or scrap processing. And currently, Tata are working on detailing up that scheme. So we're expecting a large number of applications to be submitted should this application be approved. This isn't the end of it. There's a lot of work to be done. But in terms of the proposal, they believe there's a steady supply of scrap that's already been exported that will now no longer need to be so, which will then be imported into the site by rail.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Councillor Kiwa.
Yes, thank you. I do believe that the largest producer of scrap is Sims. I think it's Sims, who have an enormous plant down at Newport Dock and are exporting ships of 30 and 40,000 tonnes of scrap going out there on a regular basis. So I believe a lot of it will be diverted our way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keogh. Any other questions? Can you...
I see no hands, Chair.
So, since there's no more questions, would the local ward members like to sum up before I move to the recommendation? No? There we are. Then now moving on to the recommendation, which is on pages 116 onwards of the report. And again, this application is recommended for approval. Could I have a proposer and a seconder to consider the recommendation? Thank you. Thank you, councillors.
I'm happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. Tammy, could you please ask each member if they have been present for the whole of this item and now they wish to vote? And could you then confirm the decision, please?
Certainly, Chair. Thank you. Members, I'll ask each of you in turn. Okay, so starting with Councillor Anne Harrod-Aubrey. Have you been present for the whole of this item and how do you wish to vote?
Yes, I've been present and I wish to support.
Thank you. Same to Councillor Tim Bowen, Vice Chair, please.
Yes, been present and for the application.
Thank you, Councillor Bowen. Councillor Heath Davis, have you been present for the whole of this item and how do you wish to vote?
Yes, I have, and it's a big yes from me.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rosalind Davis, please.
I have been present for the whole item and I vote in favour of the application. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch. Councillor Jeff Jones, Chair, please.
Yes, I have been present and I also vote a big yes for the application.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Carl Jordan, have you been present for the whole of this item and how do you wish to vote?
Thank you, Chair. I confirm I have been present throughout the item and in favour of the application.
Many thanks. Councillor Dennis Keogh, please.
Yes, I have been present for the entire meeting and I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Rydian Mason, please.
Yes, I've been present for the whole item, Tammy, and I fully support this application.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Suzanne Patterson, please.
Yes, Tammy, I've been here and I vote in favour.
Thank you very much. Councillor Phil Rogers, please.
Yes, I can confirm I've been present for the whole presentation and I would like to support the recommendation.
Thank you. And finally, Councillor Sarah Thomas, please.
I can confirm I've been present for the whole application and I support the application.
Thank you very much. So, Chair, the application for Tata Steelworks Port Talbot Electric Arc Furnace has been approved.
Thank you very much, Tammy, and thank you to the committee. Councillor Wyndham Griffiths would like to come in here, please.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to congratulate everybody concerned, and I would like to place on record that this plan application is supported by the leader and full cabinet of the council, and this project that will keep steelmaking in Port Talbot for a very, very long time. And thank you, everybody, for voting for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Wyndham. Well, there we are. Now we move on to section B of the agenda, which is matters for information. Agenda items 6 and 7 detail the appeals received and delegated decisions from the timeframe indicated in the circulated report. As Chair, I can confirm that we note the information contained within this report. Agenda item 8 is urgent items. I can confirm we have no urgent items. But I would like to say I now want to thank Chris, Matthew, along with all the planning team for the comprehensive and such an interesting report. Also like to thank Legal and SABS and all the other sections involved with this application and report. Also, the planning committee yourselves. Thank you. Thank you for support and for this application, well, this result today. And last but not least, I'd like to thank our democratic services, Tammy and Nadine, which are always there and always support me 100%. Thank you. So with nothing else to say now then, there are no further items, so that ends the business for today. Thank you all for attending.